Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. This is Pro Wrestling Logic, and we've got over 1,400 audios for you to check out on both old school and new school stuff. We've recently started the All Star Wrestling review series from the early 80s, actually 70s and 80s. I think the show started in 75, ran to 85, if I remember correctly. So we're going to try and get as many of those in as we can. Anyway, this is the NXT review for the 15th of June, 2021. William Regal kicks off the show. He's got a serious look on his face, and he's emotional. Regal talks about being in NXT since the beginning. He did commentary and called the first takeover. He's trying to maintain composure, and he's super excited about the success of NXT over the years. He went on to mention that shows overseas, including his hometown in Blackpool, were where his nieces sat with him at the show. Regal's tearing up, but then composed himself enough to keep going. He thanks the fans for the success of NXT. He says he's calling what's happening lately in NXT Chaos. He said he's given everything he could give. Regal went on to say he's not capable of giving the audience or the staff what they deserve. NXT champion Karrion Kross comes out, and he and Scarlett interrupt Regal's speech and confront him in the ring. Kross says that he and Scarlett knew the day would come, but they didn't know that when Kross proceeded to bully Regal and then asked Regal if he's crying, uh, and then Kross calls him completely pathetic for showing emotion. Yeah, this show isn't written by a misogynist. Anyway, Kross knew that Regal was losing control of NXT. Kross said he punched a hole through Mount Rushmore of NXT, and Regal knows Kross could control NXT through violence and chaos. Explain this. Anyway, Kross then wanted Regal to say it and tell these people that he's leaving them, and uh, ultimately Samoa Joe's music hits, and after Regal is bullied to say that Kross conquers all. Anyway, Samoa Joe's music hits and everybody's chanting Joe, Joe, Joe. Joe said Regal wanted to speak with him. Regal responded by saying Regal wanted him to be the new general manager. Joe answered absolutely not. He explained that Regal brought the best talent to NXT. Joe said that Regal made NXT an international phenomenon for the last 7 years that he's been in charge. Glaring a hole through Kross, Joe said he would make sure everybody respected Regal. Joe was apparently wanting to work with Regal to help him. Regal said, "That's interesting, but there were conditions. Joe could not be a competitor, and he cannot lay hands on anyone unless provoked." Joe accepts these conditions. Joe then gets in the face of Kross and asks what he's still doing in the ring. TikTok, young champion, Joe said to Kross, and the champion leaves the ring, and the crowd is singing "Na na na na, hey hey goodbye." Kross and Scarlett then leave. Grizzled young veterans cut a promo on Ciampa and Thatcher ahead of the Tornado Tag match tonight. Why is it a Tornado Tag? They never really explained this. Breezango, Tyler Breeze, and Fandango defeats Imperium, Marcel Bartel, and Fabian Aichner. Breeze pinned Aichner with a small package. Imperium jumps him post-bell. Match goes along fine without being anything really interesting to write home about. Breeze misses a plancha. Fandango then goes flying over the ropes with a tope. Imperium then hits a distraction, and they're able to top Fandango. Fandango fights back. Match goes through a commercial break. Imperium's getting beat on. Fandango is getting beat up when the show returns. Finally, he gets a hot tag to Breeze, but Breeze gets nailed with a lariat from Aichner. Breeze is still able to trap Aichner in a small package for a 3 count. Honestly, I enjoy Breeze and Fandango. Fandango is someone I've known probably almost his whole career, maybe a year or two into it. But anyway, suffice to say, certainly not a way that I would use them. Samoa Joe chokes out Adam Cole in a backstage angle. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly are having a pull-apart brawl. Regal yelled at them that they could settle this at the Great American Bash. Cole and O'Reilly still tied up in a brawl. Samoa Joe steps in to separate them. Cole shoved Joe aside, and apparently is provocation. Joe took off his suit jacket and proceeds to choke out Cole. Joe leaves him limp on the concrete floor. He says, "Tell Cole when he wakes up that Regal expects his decision." I don't necessarily like this because if Joe's going to get physical, the eventual payoff is that he, in fact, would, I don't know, wrestle. And if they're not going to let him do it, then why do this? But then if they are going to let him do it, why bring him back in this way? Either way, it's making the ankle look weak already on week one. Kushida defeats Trey Baxter for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Kushida gets the submission from the hoverboard lock. And why are you having somebody debut on TV only to lose? Baxter is the name for All Heart Blake Christian. He was on Impact a few weeks ago and a few months ago and all of that. Tonight he debuts on NXT and answers Kushida's challenge. Vignette before the match hyped his debut, but it's stupid because he loses. If you're going to debut somebody, at least have them win a few matches before you beat them. Anyway, they build up Baxter doing a Forsberry flop to the outside. Kyle O'Reilly walks down to ringside as the show cuts to commercial. Kushida is in the middle of a comeback, but Baxter cuts him off, and he flips into a kick. Strike trades for a while, and then Baxter is rocked by a right hand. Baxter manages to catch Kushida in a running Spanish fly. Baxter then springboards into a 450 splash, close near fall. O'Reilly nods, and it looks to be that he has approval. Kushida catches Baxter in the Kimura while both are perched on the ropes. Kushida then leaps off the ropes to deliver an avalanche shoulder breaker, following up a punt to the shoulder. Then Kushida applies the hoverboard lock. Baxter taps out. O'Reilly challenged Kushida after the match, and then it goes to next week's NXT. Kushida accepts the challenge, so the match is set for next Tuesday. Who would have thought that you would consider him a light heavyweight all this time? Anyway, Frankie Monet's backstage interview set next week would be the encore performance of her world premiere. Presley, the Pomeranian's always there. He's a good boy, as is expected. LA Knight turns on Ted DiBiase during the $1 Million coronation. Ted DiBiase enters the soundstage with the $1 Million Championship belt on display. DiBiase throws a hype video featuring LA Knight. Arriving at the building in a sports car, Knight comes to the ring with a cigar in his mouth. Knight then wanted to talk, and the crowd booed him. Knight tells DiBiase that it's not often in life that you can meet your heroes, much less share a ring with them. Knight can barely describe what he is feeling. Carrying on DiBiase's legacy, Knight then bragged up that means the world to him being here. He had DiBiase's action figures and came with the belt. Now Knight has the title. Knight tells DiBiase that it'd be an honor if DiBiase crowned him the champion. DiBiase said he'd be glad to do this. They shake hands. Pyro goes off, and DiBiase laughs. Taking the $1 Million Championship belt off his shoulder, Knight then looks down at it in his hands. Now he has everything he wanted, Knight says, and he says it's time to drop what he doesn't need. He nails DiBiase with a punch. Right hand drops DiBiase. Knight goes to leave, but turns back and attacks DiBiase again. Knight stomps and kicked him. And then Knight is putting the boot to DiBiase. Cameron Grimes runs down, makes the save. Grimes cleans house and clears the ring. Knight and Grimes scream that Knight had crossed the line. Another backstage interview. Gee, there's a lot of those here this week. NXT champion Raquel Gonzalez and her tag partner Dakota Kai indicated that they want a shot at the women's tag team championships. After commercial break, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart confronted Gonzalez and Kai near the gorilla position. Samoa Joe and William Regal tried to keep the teams apart. Next, we get the women's champion Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai defeating Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. Complete squash match. Kai pinning Catanzaro to win the match. Heat on Catanzaro in the match, and they go through a commercial break. Hot tag to Carter, and she runs wild with a little bit of offense, but doesn't really get too far. Carter is cut off by Gonzalez and sidewalk slammed by Gonzalez, leading to a near fall. Why this isn't already a finish, I don't understand. Double team by Kai and Gonzalez, and then another near fall. Catanzaro jumps in to break up the count. Catanzaro and Carter double team moves on Kai. Concludes with Carter giving Kai a neck breaker as Catanzaro flipped into the 450 splash. Catanzaro then covers Kai for a near fall. And then Gonzalez drags Catanzaro to the ring and breaks up the count. Gonzalez also smashed Carter into the barricade. Kai then drops the GTS on Catanzaro, and Kai covers for the pinfall. Ever-Rise cuts promo on Hit Row, and then there's going to be a comedy spot and Sirius at the same time with these guys. I don't know where it's going with them, and I really don't care. Colin O'Reilly is officially announced for the Great American Bash on July 6th. Announced for next week, O'Reilly versus Kushida in a non-title match, one would assume, and also Adam Cole will be in action next Tuesday. Candice LeRae confronts Io Shirai. During a promo, Io Shirai is about to talk when her next target, and she's interrupted by Candice LeRae. According to LeRae, a lot has changed in NXT since Shirai was last here. Shirai is unimpressed with this, and LeRae reminds her that she's one half of the tag team champions. LeRae said that she cannot stand, or she was once one half of the tag team champions. She says she still can't stand her. LeRae said Shirai picked the wrong time to mess with her. Indy Hartwell sneak attacks, jumps Shirai, and then LeRae joins in. Ultimately, Shirai comes back with a Tiger Fake kick, and Shirai goes to follow up with springboard. LeRae blocks it, and Shirai attempts, and LeRae pulls Shirai off to the apron. Attack on Shirai continues with Hartwell cleaning off the announce desk. LeRae then manages to continue onto the desk, and LeRae orders Hartwell to give Shirai an elbow drop. Zoe Stark runs out, makes the save. Stark brawls with LeRae, and Hartwell and Stark sends the way packing back to wherever. Outside the building with Mackenzie Mitchell interviewing William Regal and Samoa Joe, they're leaving the arena. Mitchell relaxes. It seems like order's been restored in NXT. I don't really understand that because I don't see that. Anyway, there's a bunch of... Anyway, after the commercial break, Mitchell's back with Joe and Regal. Now they're back inside the building, and Regal is about to speak when he's interrupted by Gargano and Austin Theory. Gargano thanks Joe for being in NXT, and Gargano says it's good Joe was here, and asks Gargano if he could do him a favor, and Gargano said sure. Joe then tells him to get out. Gargano leaves without any further incident. Pete Dunne then enters the scene, and he has a stare down with Joe. So a lot of people are teasing, wanting to fight Joe. Anyway, we go on to the main event, which is Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher against Grizzly Young Veterans Drake and Gibson Tornado Tag Match. Drake taps out after a double team submission. Obviously, a good main event match. They start by brawling. During the introduction, Grizzly Young Veterans take advantage for a while. They actually still have their jackets on, and they're applying submission holds. Grizzly Young Veterans escape, and then take their jackets off and turn the tables on Ciampa and Thatcher. Much more brawling. Everybody jumps in and out of the action. Grizzly Young Veterans gain an advantage. Double team Thatcher. And then they work him over. Ciampa is back in the ring and cleans house. And then Thatcher soon joins the fun, and he and Ciampa basically take turns trading uppercuts with their opponents. Fighting continues through a commercial break, and then things go to the veterans taking over again, double teaming Thatcher. Post commercial, Thatcher is then trapped in a submission hold. Ciampa jumps in to break it up. Ciampa then double teams the Grizzly Young veterans and they set up a doomsday device. Thatcher has to make a save though, which allows Ciampa to execute a super air raid crash from the top for near fall. And then Ciampa sells like he's out and in pain and hurt on what was supposed to be a dive, so maybe there's a legit injury there. Drake is able to get back into the match a few moments later saves a pinning attempt. Ciampa jumps back in to break up the pin. Grizzled Young veterans look to put Ciampa through the announce desk. They then prop the table up and cover the desk and slam Ciampa through the particle board of what is supposed to be a table. Vets go to put Ciampa through the table again, but Drake has to get back in the ring and fight with Thatcher. Ciampa counters Gibson, and Ciampa drop Gibson on the desk with the air raid crash. Desk doesn't fold the way it's intended to. Drake is yelling for Ciampa to get back into the ring. Thatcher is stalking him from behind. Double team by Thatcher and Ciampa. Fairy tale ending by Ciampa, and Thatcher puts on an ankle lock, and Ciampa jumps on Drake and applies an armbar. At the same time, Drake eventually taps out. Mackenzie Mitchell is again trying to interview Samoa Joe and William Regal for what seems to be the third or fourth time tonight. Things are going to be different around here, Regal says. Night one of many, Joe says. And then they leave, turn the lights out on the way out, and ultimately that closes the show. Better than average, but still has issues along the way. Anyway, until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind on the moment.